Well, I'll even back up. I was on a hike before I went to Limud LA. It was a hike with Limud LA a couple of weeks before the weekend. I was talking to this woman that I like, and I was just asking her about her life, and she had so much on the ball. Like, she was working a full-time job, at least. She was running this huge volunteer organization. She was starting up her own business. She was active in another charitable organization, and she was getting extra education and like tapping her contacts, figuring out how to start her own business. So there are a lot of women these days who just have so much on the ball. Like they're working hard, they're moving ahead with their careers, they're volunteering in charitable organizations, they're getting further education, they're tapping their contacts to move even further ahead. And I think of myself as a hardworking and ambitious guy, but I felt like a total slacker next to her. So there are a lot of women like that at Limud LA who are just very accomplished and still accomplishing a lot more, like getting further education, starting their own businesses, holding down full-time jobs, and active in charitable organizations. So it's kind of intimidating when I meet like great women who I'm attracted to, but who I know are out of my league. And
why do you say they're out of your league?
They just have so much more going on. They're in a well-paying job, and they're very accomplished in their career, and they have far more education than I do, and they're getting more education, and they're far more networked in, and more contacts, and like women don't like to date below them. I mean, they will date below them. They certainly don't like to marry below them.
Time out. You keep using these terms, above and below.
Mm-hmm.
What is your method of measurement, and what makes you even say that there is a method of measurement?
Well, income, for instance. So so I'm not talking here about traditional Jewish life where the man may spend a lot of his time studying Torah, and so doesn't bring in as much income as the wife, for instance. But outside of that, if the woman makes more than the man, that's not good for the marriage.
Who says?
That's just how it works out. Those are just the statistics. And
can you have statistics you can point to?
Google it, folks, if you want to look into this. Marriages where the woman makes more than the man are typically in a lot of trouble. So if the woman's more accomplished and making more money, and she's outworking the guy, that's not a good sign for the marriage, for the relationship, or even dating. I don't think women like to date men who are...
So when you say someone is out of your league, or they're beneath you or below you,
Mm-hmm.
above you or below you,
Mm-hmm.
or what this and that and the other, and you're taking like a measuring stick,
Mm-hmm.
it's based on who's making the most money.
That's a large part of it. So there was this great book that I only heard the author interviewed on the radio, so I haven't read the book, but it's something called The Rating Game, and it said, if you're the one who's constantly getting dumped in a relationship, it's because you're dating out of your league. And if you're the one who's constantly doing the dumping, it's because you're dating beneath you. This isn't in Hashem's terms of ultimate human worth. This is just in
That's
social,
what I want to get into in a second.
This is just
That's what I want to get into.
Social worth. So you got to take, what are your looks? What is your social position? What's your personality, and what's your earning level? And if rate yourself honestly, and it's just not going to work out if you try to date too far above yourself or too far below yourself. Status? I mean, think about in the Talmud where it says that if a rich person loses all his parnasa, you have to give him more charity than you would if a poor person loses all of his parnasa, right? Because we protect people's dignity. So if someone's like used to, a certain level of living, the story I'm talking about in the Gemara.
Not exactly, but okay.
So like someone's dignity is like a huge concern of Torah, and Torah says that our possessions and the things we own, private property, create dignity, create a good life. When you and you're able to live like a man. So those things.
You're looking at it from a very ignorant, hateful mindset. You're saying, look at these people. No, look at these people. They're smart. They made a deal. They made a deal with labor. They made a deal with Likud.
They're like public employees unions who are soaking the public tit in the United States.
Then if you don't like it and you live in the state of it, you don't have a say because it's got nothing to do with you. But if you don't like it and you live in the state of Israel, then you know what you do? You vote for Likud and you tell them, make a deal with labor and let's connect as a coalition and lock out the religious parties. But until you're willing to do that, you have nothing to complain about and shut the fuck up.
Well, my followers in Israel are starting a religious party patterned on my teachings. I'm going to be the spiritual head of this party.
You are?
Yeah, they're looking to me for moral leadership in these extremely difficult questions. And I have taught them to vote Likud and to form a bloc within Likud against making deals with the religious parties that want subsidies, which I think is all the religious parties. So as my followers gain greater and greater power in Eretz Yisrael, and as they listen to my teachings, we're going to try to reduce the number of bums who are on the public tit instead of out there working a real job.
Circles.
Well, I'll tell you what, I did not lie face down in the mud in Lebanon chasing the PLO and chasing Yasser Arafat and like fighting my way through villages filled with Hamas and PLO and Hezbollah. I did not go in with my tank, with my platoon, time and time again into Lebanon to clean up Hezbollah just so that I could come back to the United States and hear about all these frumies who aren't serving in the IDF. They're sitting around studying Torah on the public tit. I did not lie face down in the mud in Lebanon so that this would happen.